Next up, we have a team of 3 individuals from NamaChain, and I will let them explain what that NamaChain is and what it's supposed to solve. But one of the leaders here is Dinesh Ganasas Undaram, if I pronounced that right. We'll call you Dinesh for now. He is the chief architect and co-founder of NamaChain, and with him he has a few people that that are integral, I think, in your launch and in your dream coming true, which is very, very interesting, and we're really looking forward to your guiding us through this new venture of yours. Thank you, Dinesh, and please feel free to introduce your partners as well.
Thank you, Stephen. I have Jonathan Good with me. He's a co-founder and the CTO of our company. Also, Mayuk Gan, he's the founder and CEO. He's supposed to join, but unfortunately, due to under the weather, he couldn't join this meeting. So most of the stuff will be done by Jonathan and me. So I'm going to give the floor to Jonathan to start the presentation.
Thank you, Josh. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, all right.
Yes.
So yeah, as Mitch was saying, you know, with multiple founders worked for a long time. And the title of our presentation here, Dude, Where's My Key? Is reflective of, you know, we see that one of the biggest factors in data breaches, in compromising of information, and you know, loss of information, loss of identity, you can break all of it down to key management. Who holds the key in a given situation? Who has the authorization? Is really what it comes down to. And to get started, I want to set a bit of a foundation. So you've probably heard of a few common terms: military-grade encryption, government-grade encryption, bank-grade encryption. And if you're a bit more into cryptography and work a bit more at the ground level, probably familiar with some of the algorithms that are commonly used: Advanced Encryption Standard, AES, you know, Cha-Cha, Blowfish, RSA, all these different encryption algorithms and ways we've come up with securing information to keep it protected, right? And yet we still see frequently these massive data breaches where, you know, people's identity information is stolen, used to phish people into entering credentials in bad places. It's all over. And so the question always comes down to, where is the key, right? Because you can have the biggest steel door protecting your information, completely unbreakable, but if the key is under the mat, it becomes effectively useless, right? And so this is where we start asking the question, right? Where is your key? And as we move into a decentralized world where we have self-sovereign identity solutions that try to manage personal information, and we have more and more enhanced technology for communication, this becomes even more important than it already has been. And so within the blockchain space, right, we have obviously a very critical need for key management. We have a whole public key infrastructure where my private key is what drives all of my functionality, everything that I do. And so the current modern solution that we have is these wallets, right, broken into a few different categories. We've got custodial wallets, these kind of in-between semi-custodial wallets, and of course the non-custodial wallets that people try to use where the user is in full control of their key. And of course, the custodial wallets commonly used by exchanges so that they can keep into regulations. But ultimately, what that means is that they are in control, not you. You can tell them what you want them to do, but ultimately, they have the final say on what happens with your funds, with everything. And so this is where NamaChain started, is, well, what if we had a way that whoever needed the key could have the key, and only them, without all of the compromises we make on storing them, because a lot of the compromises that we get, the loss of identity from the fact that I lost my phone and it was stored on my phone. I lost some other hardware device where my key was, and now I can't access the millions in Bitcoin that I have. Right? We've seen this story over and over. So we have a couple of principles that we feel that could solve this problem. And the first one, which is a little bit more complicated, is that keys should not be stored, right? Because no matter where a key is, if it's on a server, if it's on your device, if it's wherever it's kept, there's a risk. It can get stolen, it can get hacked. But let's say this theory, if the key was never even stored, then how could you hack it? How could you steal it? The second principle that we draw from is that keys should have as small a scope as possible. If you can make it a single use, even better. And there's cryptographic reasons for that as well. But from a principle, if my key is only used once, that means that if I lose it, it's got almost no value, almost no value lost to me, right? If it gets stolen somehow, then, well, that's all it's stolen was the very small piece of information or use case that key represented and operated on, right? And so these are the principles that we have built out several protocols that we call the phantom key protocols. And we have a whole platform built in driving this. And so what they are is a set of key management protocols that enable keys to be regenerated only where they're needed, never stored, and always in the runtime of wherever they're supposed to be. So if I have a key that, if I'm a non-custodial situation, and that's my use case, well, I can generate a key in my browser, on my phone, on my laptop, right? Where it's needed, without ever having to store it, right? So the benefits of this, right? One, obviously, we've already talked about, is that all the compromises of servers getting hacked or devices being lost, those go away. These protocols are device agnostic. It doesn't matter what device, because they can run in the software level. I don't need specific hardware to manage it. They have integrated authentication, so I can use passwords and biometrics, things that I'm familiar with, to be able to regenerate these keys and put them into whatever context I need. This makes it extremely scalable. I mean, I don't have to worry about what system accesses my key and how they access it, because I can just generate it where it's needed. And if it's not stored anywhere, well, now I don't have to worry about moving it either, or losing my device. So as far as use case, I mean, we started with what we felt was the biggest use case around for enhanced security, right? And that was identity, right? It's Daisy. So we built a self-sovereign identity solution built from the ground up on these protocols on the platform, where the security is the first step. Everything is built on proper key management, security, so that the user's keys are never stored, and they can only access them when they've authenticated into the system, right? And so now the keys can be regenerated in their browser, on their phone, on their laptop, wherever they're needing to access their identity using authentication that they're already familiar with. And because of the way this works, all the typical issues like, okay, well, my key is on my phone and now I've lost access to my DIDs and verifiable credentials. Now I can't prove myself anymore. I've lost my identity. These are inherently gone, right? So this is, a very novel concept that we found very disruptive. One, in several ways. One, this enables identity to never have to be tokenized. It's common in the SSI community that things need to be stored on a blockchain in order to be able to be fully decentralized, the DID and such. Or maybe I just need to make sure I'm established on a blockchain network, and that costs something, right? Something needs to get established. So identity becomes inherently not free. And there's a lot of talk in the space of identity moving to NFTs as well, which, I mean, is inherently, that means that has to put a value on it because public networks need that. But we believe that identity, you shouldn't have to pay to exist. So that's part of what our platform drives. The second one, which is very in tandem with the principle, is data compartmentalization. By using the phantom key protocols, we can make sure that each piece of information that a user has and that they store, wherever they happen to store it, is encrypted with a key just for that piece of data that, again, just like the platform enables, is not stored. Which means that even if they need to share that information, they can share just that piece of information and completely isolated. And if somehow the key gets compromised, only that piece of information gets compromised and nothing else. It also removes that cascading effect that you see in some systems where, because one hack happened, well, now instead of just one person being compromised, 100,000 people get compromised because it's all in one database, all with the same key. It makes the solution also device agnostic, portable. I can access it from any kind of device. You just have to build the application, to build the mobile app, the desktop app, and it's easy to expand because it's just the same authentication mechanisms or different ones that you can use. This creates a fantastic user experience as well, because something that's missing from the identity space and even the blockchain, easy customer onboarding. There's a whole group of people from Web 2 that are familiar and comfortable with the way that they work. So I have a username, I have a password. If I forget my password, I can reset it. It's comfortable. You don't have to think about a lot of these problems that you do with a wallet, where I've got this 12-word passphrase. What if I lose that, right? So the other aspect of the user experience is what we call invisible key management through our platform. What we're able to do is have a key available where it's needed. And when you open source the software, then I can easily trust that what I think is happening. And I don't need to authorize every transaction that happens within this application, because I can see what's happening and everything is engaged by me only where I am, right? In my app, in my browser, in my laptop. So what does it mean for Polkadot? Here we are at the World Polkadot Forum, right? So right now we are our own layer one. We have a private network that we're operating until we go open and open source. And what we want to be able to do is expand this to include other networks, including Polkadot, because we want everyone to be able to benefit from this, not just us. We want a user to be able to use their identity to enable blockchain solutions to leverage their verified identity on other networks as well. We have authentication protocols that enable a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3 so that I can use my Web 3 identity to authenticate me for Web 2 solutions. All the data ownership mechanisms, the protocols that enable us to enable a user to store information that they're in complete control over, that only they have access to, right? They can be stored on virtually any platform, right? We want to bring this all to every network so that we can all benefit from this. So we have a bit of an overview of kind of what our ecosystem looks like. That can include apps, dApps from any network, KYC AML that I can build on to establish verified profiles that I can use on-chain and off-chain in Web 2, Web 3. Obviously, we talked about the key management, which a natural extension of that is to have wallets, enhanced wallet software where the keys don't need to be stored. I authenticate into my wallet, and now wherever I am, I have the keys that I need to operate my various cryptocurrencies. In the future, we want to also expand this to IoT, so I can manage my fridge and have my fridge pay for my groceries and have it delivered, right? Call Uber Eats and get me my food. We want to expand to education claims. The thing is, we have thought of almost 250 use cases for various aspects of this, And there's no possible way we can get to them all. One organization cannot do all of this. It's crazy. So this is where we need to expand, open, and talk to people, bring on other use cases, partnerships to come in and have some of these use cases build on this platform so that they can bring the benefit to people that need it. Is there any questions?
Oh, that's awesome, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I'm sure there's a bunch of questions. I would love to have your perspective too, Dinesh, on what the real problem was and why NamaChain is the solution for this.
So just as Jonathan said, we are a privacy-driven company, right? We take privacy serious than everything else. So second thing is we want to give the users the ownership of the identity, not a centralized system. So because of these two, we are different than anyone else. Even though they're calling their SSI solution, we are different from them. And the second thing is, just like Jonathan keeps saying about the key management side of it, since the key are always generating in the runtime, keys are more secure, so no hackers could try to hack your information. Plus, the users, most of the users are really familiar with Web 2.0, which is just to use a username and password to log in. So the same methodology we are bringing to the Web 3.0 too. So the users who doesn't know the Web 3.0 to migrate to Web 3.0 is easier by using this methodology, right? So this is why we are bringing to the table today.
Right. Yeah. Are there questions from the audience? Anyone with some good questions?
I guess we covered it all.
Yeah, I think you did very well. Thanks for the presentation, gentlemen. It was very enlightening, and I think some of these issues that you're bringing up are common challenges across Web3, and the protection of our keys and our identity as well. They're connected with that, and to that end, I wish you all the best of luck in your future. And we would love, as a unit, as part of the Polkadot ecosystem, to stay close and see if there's projects that we could be partnering with and partnering on with you. Where are you located mostly? Where are you at?
We're actually already global. Our CEO, Mayuk, right now is in Thailand. We have resources in Morocco, India. Dinesh and I are based out of Toronto.
All right. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's an amazing new world that we're in with the way we can be global even at this stage, right? It's been a very long journey so far. We're excited also to see what we can bring to everyone else, right? See what we could bring potentially to Unit. See how we could help any issues you guys have as well. I mean, this is kind of what's just driving, is that there are so many ways that little details can make a difference. And education being one of those, and hearing what Ty talked about what Unit's doing for education. It's amazing, right? And if we can help in any way, that's what we'd love to do, right?
Yeah, we would, I'm sure, be interested in inviting you as part of our speakers for the master's program. If you not have been invited yet, I think certainly that's a very good way for us to work together and learn from each other. I think your insights for our participants in the master's program would be very keen to get your knowledge and learnings as part of their journey. So how do you, I have a question for both of you, maybe Jonathan and Dinesh, is how do you see the future in the blockchain Web3 space? If you look 2030, let's say 2030, in 8 years, what will this look like?
Well, for me, I think that based on current problems, I mean, I start with kind of the reason why I'm going to say this. Right now, blockchain is almost universally seen by regulators and the average person as like a stock almost, right? It's a driver for tokens, and that's all they really see. And I think education is going to be a big part of this. But what I see in 2030 is people understanding more that blockchain is a lot more than just tokens and crypto. We can power all kinds of interoperability and functionality and proper utility, things like powering identity, things like powering, so one of the, at Consensus, one of the speakers talked about a decentralized economies, but at a micro scale. Like I have a car that's automated that can pay for the electricity that it uses from the electricity system, which is also its own blockchain network. And maybe not by 2030, but that's the direction that I think things will go, to be more around the utility of what blockchain can provide as a ledger of history with cryptographically powered engines, not so focused on what I can make out of finance.
Right. And Dinesh, how do you see the world in 2030?
Yeah, so even though today most of the system are already on in the web, meaning everything online. So in the future, even though Web 2.0 bring a lot of stuff, Web 3.0 are going to take to the next level, right? So in 2030, most of the stuff are now user-driven than the company-driven stuff. So everything will be owned by the user. So it's a good time to bring the solution to the table now.
Yes, and we are hoping and planning that these will also help fulfill some of the UN's DGGs, right? The sustainability goals that we're all part of and want to help solve and reach. So, are there other questions from participants, or any final thoughts from you gentlemen, Jonathan and Dinesh?
Well, I mean, say thank you for having us here.
You're very welcome.
And to speak. Key management is, it's a large conversation that really is a very, very narrow and focused on cryptographic utility. But I think that we need to start seeing more consideration, I think, into the underlying security. A lot of solutions are built with the functionality in mind. Here's what I want to deliver to the people, and I'm going to try to make it as secure as I can, right? I'm going to start with what I want to deliver and then figure out how I'm going to deliver it. We kind of started the opposite way, right? We said, okay, look, here's how things should be delivered, right? This is the standards that we think that we should expect to see across not just identity industry, but every industry. And we go, okay, well, what can we build for that, right? What can we do? What can we deliver with this methodology? And then going forward, that's our attitude, and that's an attitude that we want to also instill in solutions that not only to integrate with us, but just even completely separate, right? That's an ideology that we're trying to drive forward. And something I'd like to leave with people with is to start considering that, right? We have probably solution developers here. And that's just something I want people start seeing and considering, right?
So another one is everyone talk about smart cities and stuff, and we are thinking little bit other way around. So instead of bringing everyone to the city and make the city a smart one, we want to bring the technology to the village, right? We want to build smart villages and stuff. So that's our end goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else to add? Otherwise, I think we're ready to move on to the next speaker that we have. Thank you so much, Jonathan, Dinesh, for your invaluable contribution to this World Polkadot Forum by unit, and we're so thankful for your engagement and your involvement and the insights that you've shared with us, and we look forward to our collaboration as we move forward, reaching our 2030 goals that we all have so dear to our hearts. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Superb.